Hi, this is Lisa Torres from Access Homeopathy. I'm changing the scenery regularly for the videos, and it's all from the clinic. I want to say thank you to everybody and jump right in today. This is another video for the series on preventive healthcare and how you can better manage you and your family's healthcare. Today I'd like to go into more detail regarding the biographical and timeline section of the healthcare document that I spoke about last time. And the reason why is because this document is so important. It provides us many different ways to observe patterns that can help us to better address the situations that we want to address with respect to our health. So if we have, for example, on our biographical timeline, we would include medications, medical interventions, physical and emotional events in life. Those are the big categories. And if we have, for example, medications, there's some medications, certain categories of the medications, if we're taking them for 20 years, chances are increased to have certain medical diagnosis. And so when a practitioner is looking at this, we can kind of see what might be coming down the road or understand why something has happened by looking back. Also, if we have a particular event that might have been very challenging with certain areas of study, we can understand what is the biological programming, which is a term that's used in German New Medicine, that would lead us to certain symptoms, certain clinical diagnosis. For example, thyroid is affected by the feeling that has occurred quite suddenly of having your hands tied behind your back. It's like you're being stuck in this rock between a hard place and don't really know what to do. So your metabolism increases and you go into a hypothyroid situation, which eventually you end up into a hypothyroid situation. It goes on. But what's important with this document is that you can see these things happening as time goes on with training. But German New Medicine is one area to look at for that. Another place that this timeline comes in handy is there are different patterns that we can see. So German New Medicine provides us with all types of patterns regarding the biological programming. But then there's also 10 to 14 day patterns, and we see this all the time in allopathic medicine. A virus has a 10 to 14 day frequently incubation period. It's not uncommon following pregnancy, 10 to 14 days later, you start to feel something different. You don't quite know what it is, but it's the 10 to 14 days later part, which is the pattern here. And so we can start to see that more clearly also when we're looking at that biography. And then another interesting pattern, which doesn't often get to the biography because it's too short time-wise, but it's so important when we're talking about acute situations, is the 3-day pattern. And what happens is, say an event happens day 1, day 3, if that event was highly emotionally charged, but we didn't have a chance to process it, or it was too much to process, and so there was an overflow into the physical realm, then those symptoms will be felt 3 days on day 3. Something happens on Monday night, usually something will come up on the Thursday night. Say, for example, a child falls and bangs his or her head on the Monday. It's on the Thursday that you're going to start to see symptoms of that. Obviously, sometimes you can start to see signs of concussion immediately and go see the physician and all of that. What I'm talking about here doesn't have to do with that type of a situation. There's a pattern, a 3-day pattern. So that could be one whereby child falls and 3 days later it wasn't a serious fall. They didn't go to the hospital or anything, but 3 days later they start to not sleep very well, to wake up early. Their behavior changes slightly. And so it's nothing that would be necessarily detectable within the allopathic system, although it's always recommended to go to the allopathic system and to have things checked out. And once that's an all clear and you still have things that are like lingering and wondering what's going on, it's that 3-day thing. Go back. When something starts and you don't know what this is about, go back 3 days and what was going on 3 days ago. It is a very common question and very common response. 3 days ago, gee, oh, right, and you don't remember it initially. You remember it later. Another example, and this brings up a whole other issue, which I'll go into more another time, is family dynamic. Say something happens to mom on day 1, mom gets like bad news about something on day 3, a child might end up with conjunctivitis, wake up with it, and you're like, why do you have this? You have it for a reason, and it may be because mom is not paying attention or doesn't want to pay attention to what needs to be attended to, and therefore the child will reflect that back to mom. It's still the same 3-day rule, but within a more complex assessment, which a more complex assessment is required to be able to figure it out, because it involves family dynamics. That's a whole other area, and we'll talk about it another time. I hope this has been helpful. Very best wishes. Thank you.